What's up, you guys? Teddy Striker here, and in this video I want to talk about pressure grapplers because I feel like over the past year or so in the UFC, they've really started to take over and show dominance. And what I mean by pressure grapplers is guys who are gonna put the pressure on you, push you back, look to use their strikes to set up their takedowns and just outwork you, and look for takedowns and look to finish you on the ground with submissions or ground and pound, or just continuously wear you out. Some examples of pressure grapplers are guys like Belal Muhammad, Brady, Merab, is really, to an extent, you can say Alexander Pantoja, because he does put a lot of pressure on his opponents, but he's got really, really good striking. He's more of a well-rounded fighter than just a pressure grappler. He can get it done on the feet. But then you can maybe argue guys like Islam Makhachev a little bit, but at the same time, he's got really good striking. Maybe Dricus Du Plessis, but like I said, he's also got good striking. So there's a lot of guys out there who use that sort of pressure and grappling style, but they've also got phenomenal striking. But in this video, we're mainly going to focus on the guys who mainly focus on getting the fight to the ground and that they use those takedowns to win fights. And since they've been winning and so dominant lately, I want to talk about how we can beat them, how fighters can beat this style. But before we get into how to beat this style, let's understand how they are so good. In my opinion, they are so good because they don't let you settle. Whenever you go into a fight, you want some time to kind of figure out your opponent, see their tendencies, their patterns, and figure out a way to beat them while you're in there and see if what you've been training for is actually going to work. But these guys, they don't give you that opportunity to just constantly go after you and, attack you when you're not necessarily ready and just shut you down like that. Another reason why I think they're so good is because of the variety of strikes and takedowns they can hit you with. They hit you with a lot of things, with punches, kicks, and multiple different takedowns. And when you're thinking about the takedown, that's when they can start hurting you on the feet and catching you with shots that you're not expecting, because you're just getting overloaded with a barrage of different attacks. Another reason why I think they're so good is because they do have good defense. To have a style like this where you're constantly going forward and getting in your opponent's face, if you don't do it the right way, then you can end up getting knocked out. But these guys, they do have fairly good defense. Like in the welterweight division, the average significant striking defense is 54.3%, while guys like Belal Muhammad and Brady have an average significant striking defense of 59 for Brady and 57% for Belal Muhammad, which is much higher than the average. And then you got the bantamweight division. The average significant striking defense is 59%. And Merab, he's not quite at the average. He's at 57%, but he's still pretty close. So majority of the strikes that are going to be, well, not majority, but slightly over half the strikes that are going to be thrown at him, he is going to be able to defend it. Also, I think they're so good because of their conditioning. They never get fatigued in fights. They're the ones that are fatiguing their opponents, and they're just able to go for longer periods of time due to that elite conditioning. And lastly, I think that they're so good because of how relentless they are. See them, sometimes they'll miss on takedown attempts. They might not get you to the ground, but that's not going to discourage them from re-shooting takedowns on you and constantly trying to take you down over and over. Even if it's not the first, second, or third, you can expect them to continue and to try to take you down. Now that we know some of their strengths, let's talk about how to beat them. And the first key to victory to beating this style is going to be to occupy the space. They love to get in your face, put a lot of pressure on you, stay close. So you gotta find a way to stop that pressure and get them away from you. You don't want them to just break in your house. You want to make sure that you have a lock, that the door is closed, so that no one can just come into your house without you knowing. There's a few techniques you can use to do this. Firstly, you can control the hands of your opponent if it's an open stance matchup, meaning you're southpaw and your opponent's orthodox, or vice versa. Leon Edwards was doing this a little bit early in the Brady fight, but unfortunately he wasn't able to keep this up, and Brady found ways around it and made some adjustments and eventually just overwhelmed Leon. But another way you can keep your opponent at bay is to use feints and keep them guessing. You don't want to just stand there and not move and be a stationary target for them. And also, you can use several kicks, like front kicks. That's a great kick because it's pretty tough to catch, especially if you throw it like a regular, karate sort of snap kick. Like you snap it up instead of just trying to push your opponent away. If you snap it, that's gonna do some damage. It's gonna take away from their cardio, and it's gonna make them respect that distance. And also, you can use oblique kicks to stop their momentum coming forward. That's a great attack to just slow your opponent down and force a reset essentially from them, and you could do a lot of damage with the oblique kicks. The second key to victory to beating this style is octagon control. Grapplers love to come forward and control the cage and make sure that they have all the space because it's easier to get takedowns. So you gotta control the cage and put them on the back foot.
From my experience at least, when you put a grappler or a wrestler or someone who's grappling heavy on the back foot, it makes it a lot more difficult for them to shoot and initiate takedowns and stuff.
Since you'll have a bunch of space behind you, it's going to make it easier to see their takedowns coming because you can just take a simple step back and then see what they're going to do, and they're going to have to shoot from further out and get desperate, and that isn't going to be good for them because their takedowns are going to be a lot more predictable and easier to see. The next key to victory I have to beat this style is body shots. We know that these guys are going to be coming in excellent shape and be ready to go 5 rounds, so we got to slow them down, and body shots are the best way to slow anybody down. And, when you go for body shots on someone, especially like straight punches, or when you're in close, it's a bit trickier, but when you're at a distance and you go for straight punches to the body, you naturally lower your level. So it's going to make it harder for the grappler to change levels and try to take you down because you're going to be matching them at that level. And also, if you happen to time them as they're coming for a takedown, then you can actually end up hitting them in the head with a pretty solid shot that is going to do some damage and make them double think their takedown entries. The next key to beating this style is to have strong boxing. These guys are going to be in your face the whole time, so you don't really have that much space to throw your kicks, but you do have the space to let your hands go, and you're going to need to have some pretty solid boxing fundamentals to, number one, avoid their punches and be able to counter them because, they're going to be coming forward. You know what they're going to do, so you got to use that momentum against them and create a collision and counter them, or, take angles and move out the way. And this sort of boxing style where you push your opponent back and you let your hands go and you just beat them up with your hands, we've seen that work when Belal Muhammad fought Brady. He kind of gave the blueprint, put the grappler on their back foot and let your hands go and, defend the takedowns that are going to be easier to defend when you're the one controlling the octagon. And the last key to victory I have to beat this style is to create scrambles. You cannot accept those bad positions. You can't just stay stationary or just relax because they're going to keep on working and they're not going to let you go. They are comfortable with just holding you up against the fence. We've seen Merab do it against Jose Aldo, and to a certain extent Sean Brady was doing this against Gilbert Burns too. One way to create a scramble is to try to reverse a position by getting a takedown on your opponent. The goal here is just to create space so that you can escape and get away from your opponent's grip. And it's really just about not accepting those bad positions. When you know you're in danger, try to, do something to get away from your opponent. One thing you can do is use your opponent's momentum whenever they go for a takedown or they try to change positions. Use that momentum and move along with it, and you might actually just be able to get away from whatever bad position you're in, or just try to create chaos like here. Usman slams Chimaev before he's about to get choked, and he saves himself, and Whaley is able to reverse a position, end up on top. And Gilbert Burns, here he does a great job of following the movement and not accepting those bad positions and continuing to move so that he's able to stay safe. There's multiple ways to scramble, and I think that this is a technique that should be worked on whenever you're gonna go up against one of these pressure grapplers. But that's all I've got for how to beat this style. Obviously there's a lot more you gotta do, but let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think about this new style, and is it taking over MMA? But thank you guys for watching, and God bless.